Welcome! Let's dive into the classic fable of the wolf and the crane. Now, on the surface, it's a story about a very risky deal and a pretty cruel betrayal, but it's also packed with some fantastic vocabulary that can really bring your own English storytelling to life.
So before we jump in, here's a question I want you to keep in the back of your mind as we go through the story. What is the real reward you get for helping someone who is wicked? Let's see what this old fable has to say about that.
All right, so our story kicks off with a really dangerous mistake, one born from pure greed, and it leads to a bargain that was, well, risky from the absolute get-go.
So I want you to picture this. You've got a wolf who's just been feasting greedily, eating way too much, way too fast. And a bone gets stuck crosswise in his throat. I mean, he can't breathe, he's choking, he's in total desperation, so he tears off to find someone, anyone who can help him.
And who does he find? The crane. And with that super long, slender neck, she seems perfectly designed for this very specific and, let's be honest, very dangerous kind of surgery. So the wolf sees his chance and he makes her a promise.
He tells her, "I will reward you very handsomely. All she has to do is pull that bone out." Sounds tempting, right? A handsome reward. But, we really have to remember who's making this promise.
The crane feels uneasy. I mean, who wouldn't be? Putting your head inside a wolf's mouth has to be one of the worst ideas ever. But the story says she has a grasping nature. She really, really wants that reward. So she takes the risk. She carefully puts her head in, pulls out the bone, success. And now, totally relieved, she anxiously asks for her payment.
And here it is. This is the betrayal. The wolf just snarls at her. Her reward? He basically says, "Your reward is that I let you pull your head out of my mouth without snapping it off." Can you believe it? She risked her life and gets absolutely nothing but a terrifying memory. So it's a simple story, but it's so powerful. Now what I want to do is unpack some of the specific words that make it work so well. We're going to take a closer look at 8 key vocabulary items we just heard.
Let's rewind all the way back to the beginning, to the root of the wolf's whole problem. The story says he was feasting greedily. So what does that actually mean? Greedily. Okay, so this adverb is all about doing something with this intense, super selfish desire for more. Think about it. The wolf wasn't just hungry. No, he was greedy. He wanted it all, right then and there, and that's exactly what got him into this mess. Okay, next up, let's look at how the bone was stuck. The fable uses this very specific, very precise word, crosswise. Crosswise. This one is all about position and direction. It just means a cross, in the shape of a cross. So you can picture it. The bone wasn't stuck long ways where it might just slide down. No way. It was wedged in there side to side, completely blocking his throat. That one word paints a very clear and, a very painful picture.
So, how is the crane feeling about this, let's call it an unusual job offer? Well, as you can imagine, the story tells us she was uneasy.
Uneasy. You know this feeling, right? It's that sense of anxiety or discomfort when you know something just isn't right. It's like a knot in your stomach, a warning bell going off. For the crane, that feeling was a huge red flag, one she probably should have listened to. Okay, so if she felt so uneasy, why in the world did she go through with it? Well, the fable gives us one simple reason. She was grasping.
Grasping. This is a great adjective and it's very similar to greedy. It describes someone who is always trying to get or grasp more things, especially money or possessions. In the crane's case, her grasping nature was just a little bit stronger than her fear. And of course, after she does the dangerous work, the crane asks for the one thing she was promised all along, her reward. Reward. A simple word, we all know it. It's what you get for your effort, for some achievement. But the really key thing in this fable is the absence of a reward, especially when one was so clearly promised.
So how does the wolf respond to her completely fair request for payment? He doesn't just say no. The story uses a much more powerful verb. He snarled.
Snarled. This is a fantastic verb because it's not just about speaking, it's about how you speak. You can almost picture an animal showing its teeth. It's this aggressive, angry, unpleasant sound, and it tells us everything about the wolf's true, violent character.
The wolf's actions lead us straight to the moral of the story.
which uses the perfect word to describe him. It says you should expect no reward for serving the wicked.
Wicked. This is a classic word for someone who is just plain evil or morally wrong. The wolf isn't just selfish, he's wicked, because he chooses to repay an act of kindness with a threat of deadly violence.
And finally, let's look at the very specific threat the wolf makes. He asks her if it isn't reward enough that he didn't snap it off.
Snap off. This is a great phrasal verb. Snap gives us the sound, that quick, sharp crack. And off tells you the result. It's separated. The image of the wolf snapping her head off is so sudden and violent, and it really shows us just how much danger that Crane was truly in.
And all of this brings us right to the central lesson, the moral of the fable. Expect no reward for serving the wicked. It's a tough lesson, right? When you're dealing with someone who has proven they are cruel and immoral, you just can't expect them to suddenly become grateful. As the crane learned, the greatest reward you can hope for in that situation is just getting away unharmed.
And this leaves us with a really tough question to think about. We're all taught to be kind, to help others, but this story suggests that sometimes there are limits. It leaves us with one final thought. When is kindness a risk that just isn't worth taking? Thanks for joining this explainer.